It's 6 o'clock on the dot. Thank you all so much. Those of you who joined and are joined on time. We're going to give about 2 or 3 minutes because, as I was sharing with my board member, normally the people log on right at 6 or 6:01. So we're going to give about 3 more minutes and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I know you could be doing a million other things, but you took the time out of your schedule to listen to what we had to say about your child and your child's grades and what's in the best interest of your child. So want to start before I get started, just want to acknowledge my board members who I'm always so appreciative of for all of their support. Board President Reverend Thomas, of course, Vice President Ms. Emma Golden, our Board Secretary Ms. Townsend Blackman, Ms. Evelyn Woods, as well as Ms. Deborah Johnson. And I see Ms. Townsend Blackman and Ms. Golden. I see their faces, so I know they're on. So just thank you all for getting on. I really appreciate all the support and all the licks that you all take, because you take a lot of them just like I do. So I really appreciate it. The purpose of our meeting tonight is to educate and inform parents on how their students are scored on district benchmarks and state assessments. I know you all just received report cards, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about how your child received those grades, to educate and inform parents on how their students are graded on classroom assignments, as well as to re-emphasize the importance of attendance. And we're also going to talk a little bit, I'm going to give you just some reminders about technology and the technology component in our district. So we'll jump right in. Now, our accountability model, that is the model that the state, Mississippi Department of Education, uses to give schools and districts ratings. Of course, a district or a school can be rated an A, B, C, D, or F. And if you're considered a D or an F school, you're considered a low performing school. And ABC is what the state wants all districts to be, at least a C. So currently our district is a C district, and that is the equivalent of a successful school. So your child attends a successful school, and we're extremely proud of that. And because we were not able to test on last year, we were able to hold that same rating. So we were a successful district last year, and without even taking a test, we were a successful district this year. So we count that as a blessing. So all things that came from the pandemic were not bad. That's one of the great things that came about because of it. So who takes the test? This screen tells you which students are required to take the end of year state assessments that are mandated by MDE. So all third graders must take the ELA assessment, which is known as the third grade GATE, and they must also take the math assessment. Fourth graders must take the ELA and the math. But let me go back to the third grade. That third grade GATE, those third graders must pass that ELA test, that third grade GATE, in order to be promoted to the fourth grade. So it's a very, very important assessment for our third graders. Fourth grade, they must take ELA in math. Fifth grade, ELA, math, and science. Sixth and seventh grade, they must take ELA in math. And then eighth grade, again, they must take ELA, math, and science. And then in high school, they have to take the English 2 assessment, Algebra 1 assessment, U.S. History assessment, and Biology 1 assessment. Now, I say high school because they can take Algebra 1 and Biology 1. They can take that as low as the 8th grade. And we have some 8th graders who take the Algebra 1 assessment, and 9th graders who take Biology or Algebra 1. English 2 is typically taken in the 10th grade, and U.S. History is taken in the 11th grade. And they must pass those tests in order for them to graduate. So high school assessments and the third grade GATE are the assessments that the children must pass in order for them to graduate. So what can they score and what does it mean? So all students can score either minimal, basic, passing, proficient, or advanced. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what each of those means. Minimal is the lowest that a child can score. Now, a couple of years ago, MDE changed it where they can score a high minimal or a low minimal. High minimal is 1B, low minimal is 1A. So minimal, if a child scores minimal, if your child scores minimal, that means that your child does not exhibit the basic skills that they need to be successful in the next grade. So if a child scores minimal, that means essentially they're not ready to go to the next grade. So a minimal is essentially the same as an F. Basic is the same pretty much as a D. So a child can score a high basic or a low basic. High basic is a 2B, low basic is a 2A. And that means that the child exhibits partial skills to be successful in the next grade level. They're not as low as minimal, but they still do not exhibit all the skills that's needed to be successful. And the reason this is so important is because when a child goes to the next grade, they have to have they're going to learn all new skills. So if a child is basic or minimal, that means that they're still missing some skills from the year prior. So when they go to the next grade, and I'll just use 5th grade as an example. If a child is minimal in 5th grade, that means when that child goes to 6th grade, they're still missing some 5th grade skills that they are behind on, and then they have to get all of their 6th grade skills. So that's why we try to push our children out of the minimal and basic categories so that they can go into the next performance level, which is passing. Now, passing means the child has passed the assessment. So let's just think about our third grade GATE, Algebra 1, English 2, U.S. History, and Biology 1. Those children have to score a 3 in order to be considered for the next grade or to graduate. They have to score at least a 3. That is considered passing. Now, there's still a high passing and a low passing, 3A and 3B. But if a child passes, that means that child can be successful in the next grade level with limited support. Now, what we want all of our children to score, of course, is proficient or advanced. And if a child is proficient or advanced, that means they are good to go. They are ready to be successful in the next grade level. So a child can score either minimal, basic, passing, proficient, or advanced. And remember, we do not want them in the minimal or basic categories. We're trying to push them to passing and above. Okay? So, and I'm sure you've probably heard of this term, low performing students or the bottom 25. And it has a negative connotation, but it's not necessarily negative. So I want to take this opportunity to let you know exactly how those children are labeled either low performing or bottom 25. Low performing students and or bottom 25 are not necessarily failing students. Low performing students and bottom 25, that's the same group of students. Those names are used interchangeably. This group is determined by ranking all of the test scores in the school from highest to lowest. So they take every child that took the test, let's just say in math, and they rank them from highest to lowest. And then the bottom 25 of that group, they call those the low performing students or the bottom 25. And then they monitor those students to see if those students are going to show growth academically. Now, if you're at a high performing school, and I'll just use A.W. James or I'll use Inverness, B-rated schools. So when they rank all of their children from the highest to the lowest, the children who are at the bottom may be proficient students. So it's not necessarily a failing status if you're a low performing student. That's just a rank of where you fall in the test scores at that particular school. So don't think that's a negative connotation if a child says that they're in the bottom 25 or they're low performing students. I hate that name, but that's what MDE calls them. So that's what we take. We call them promising 25. We try to change the connotation here in the district. So what do we measure, or what does the state measure in accountability? They look at proficiency. Did the child perform on or above grade level? So they're looking at how many 4s and 5s do we have in the district. They want to know if we grew our children from one year to the next. They're going to look at growth for all children, but they're also going to look very closely at those low performing children that I just spoke of. They want to know, did our children participate in the state test? The MDE, the Mississippi Department of Education, asks that every single student in the district takes the state assessment. However, they know that's not necessarily possible, but the district is required to test at least 95% of the student body. 95%. Anything below that, the district will drop a letter grade. So we can get to be a B school district. If we don't test 95% of our children, then we'll drop down to a C. And the rationale behind that is some school districts want to only test their best children. And so to remedy that, you have to test at least 95%. And if you don't, like I said, you'll drop a letter grade. And then, of course, graduation rates. Now, graduation rates are not just the children who graduate. It's for the children who graduate on time. And that's what Ms. Dean and Dr. Mitchell, they spend a lot of time throughout the year tracking students to see where they are, because if a child started at Gentry, I'll use for an example, in the 9th grade in 2000, in 2004, that child is expected to graduate. You have 4 years to graduate. And if they don't show up as graduating, then that counts against the school and against the district. So a graduation rate is based on children who graduate on time within a 4-year period. Just because you graduate, if it took you 7 years to graduate, then that's not going to help the district. It's going to help you because, of course, we want everyone to get a diploma, but they want children to graduate on time, as they should. So how can a child grow? And I'm just going to go through this briefly. So if a child scored a 1A one year, they're expected to score 1B the next year. So they're just expecting them to grow from one level to the next, at least. If they scored a 3A in 1 year, they're expecting them to score a 3B the next year. So that's just how children can grow, and that's how the districts and the schools get points on their accountability model. In elementary school and middle school, you can get up to 700 points. And as you can see, if you're viewing this on a computer, children can get 100 proficiency points in reading, math, and science, but then they get growth points, growth for all in ELA and math, as well as those low 25 that I was telling you about. As you can see, they're really, really intent on monitoring the growth of that bottom 25 group of students. High school, they can get up to 1,000 points. They have the same points as the middle school, but they also have that graduation rate, acceleration, which is those children who are taking dual enrollment and AP classes. And that's why we encourage parents. Yes, it's a bit more difficult, but please don't pull your children out of those dual enrollment and those advanced placement classes, because it hurts the school, it hurts the child, because there's so many benefits to those dual enrollment and AP classes, but it also it hurts the school and the district. And then college and career readiness, that's how the children, the 11th graders, this is how they perform on the ACT. So that, and then these are just the points that are required for a school to be an F, D, C, B, and A. And last year, like I said, the last time we are a C district, and I think we were at a 544. So, and we were extremely excited about that. We grew over 70 something points. So we were really, really proud of the growth that we showed in the Sunflower County Consolidated School District. And had we taken the test last year, I firmly believe we would have been at least a 599. We were counting on that B, but you know, the pandemic happened and God saw different, so it just didn't work out that way. But we are still striving to get to at least a B school district. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the report card grades. How do children get grades on their report card? So grades fall into different categories. We have major grades, we have minor grades, and then we have exam grades. Major grades, just as the name says, count the most. They're worth 50% of their child's grades, and they include biweekly tests, quizzes, projects, term papers. Those are considered major grades. Minor grades, as the term says, those do not weigh as much. And those are like your homework grades, your classroom assignments, essays, discussion questions. All those are minor grades. And then the exam grades are worth 25%. Now, I'm sure some people may be saying the exam grades are only worth 25%. That's just one grade, so it has nothing to average. So it really counts a large portion of the students' grades, how they perform on their benchmark, and in the case of non-subject area tests, their 9 weeks test. So you only get one exam grade per 9 weeks, and that comes from your benchmark grade if you're in subject area, or from your 9 weeks test. So that's how the grades are weighted, and these are the different types of grades. Students must have at least 18 grades per 9-week period in each of their classes. That's what the policy says. So this breaks down to 2 graded assignments per week in each of their classes. They have 2 graded assignments per week in each of their classes. Teachers, the principals have done a good job of getting the teachers to work together so that students are not overwhelmed with a lot of assignments on the same days. It's not fair for a child to have 10 assignments due on a Wednesday. That's too much. That's overwhelming. So the child is not going to do well in something on somebody's assignment. So the teachers kind of orchestrate and work together so children are not overwhelmed with assignments on the same day. All assignments are posted in Canvas or on Active Parents, but most are in Canvas. And teachers are responsible for setting the timelines and deadlines for assignments. Teachers have the autonomy to determine when assignments are due. That's at the teacher's discretion. Students cannot be given a grade of higher than a 0 if they do not do an assignment, if an assignment is not done. So if a child does not turn in an assignment, we can't give them a grade higher than 0. That is illegal. You cannot give a child a grade of 100 for assignment they didn't do. That's just like you can't pay somebody for a job that they didn't do. If they didn't do the assignment, we can't give them anything higher than a 0. So if a child has a missed assignment, teachers have been asked to record a 0/I, with the I meaning incomplete. Now, students can make up the assignment that entire 9 weeks, but the highest they can get on missed assignments is a 70. And that's only fair, because if children took their time and did the assignment and got it in on time and made a 100, then it's not fair for somebody else to have 3 extra weeks and then come back and still make a 100. So the highest you can make on a missed assignment is a 70. However, if an assignment is not made up by the end of the current 9-week period, that child has to receive a 0. So if it's the second 9 week, I'll just use the first 9 weeks because we're done with that. Assignments missed in the first 9 weeks won't carry over into the second 9 weeks. So if they don't get those assignments made up by the end of the first 9 weeks, they got a 0. And that 0 is going to be calculated into their average. And I can tell you, it's hard to pull up a 0. So that's why we try to extend as much grace as possible so children don't have zeros. But believe it or not, some children, even though we give them all this time, still do not turn in assignments. And our hands are tied. We cannot give them a grade of anything but a 0. Parents are encouraged to check their students' grades in Active Parent. And teachers have been encouraged, and really they have a time set aside where they call parents through school status to let them know when their children are missing assignments. Now, believe it or not, and I know it's not you, the ones who are on this call, but some parents have blocked our number where we can't even call them. I know that's not you all, but sometimes we can't even reach the parent because they blocked us. So parents, please, when you see a number coming from the district and our teachers text, they do all of that. Please answer because they're just calling to tell you about your child. Consideration is given to students who may have technological issues because you know how technology is. If it's thundering and lightning outside, we may have some issues with technology. However, the student or the parent, they must notify the school if they're having technological issues. Because if we don't know that, then they don't log in, then we don't have any way of knowing that they're just not attending. So if you're having some technological issues, please contact the school. For instance, I think it was it may have been at Carver or Merritt where Suddenlink had went down. Of course, that's going to impact technology. So the parent called and let them know Suddenlink was down. We made the accommodations. No big deal. So you just need to call and let us know. If a teacher is not logged on for a class, please contact the school immediately. Students will not be penalized for adult issues. So if a teacher is late logging on, then please contact the school and then the principal will take care of that situation. Superintendent scholars, and it's about that time, superintendent scholars are students who have all A's on their report cards. Principal list scholars are students who have all A's and B's or all B's, any combination of them. And honor roll are children who have all A's and B's and one C or all B's and one C. With the honor roll, you can have one C, but not with the principal's list. And then with the superintendent's list scholar, of course, you know you have to have all A's. Okay, now attendance. This has been a major issue. So I want to take my time and really be thorough in our explanation about attendance. Students must log into every class every day. Every class that's on their schedule, they must log into that class to be considered present. Students are considered absent from the classes they do not log into. I'm going to give you an example. If you have an 8 o'clock class for Ms. Townsend and a 9 o'clock class for Ms. Golden, and you log into Ms. Townsend's class and you don't log into Ms. Golden's class, you are absent from Ms. Golden's class. You have to log into every class that is on your schedule to be counted present. If a student does not log into 3 or more of his classes in a day, that child is considered absent because MDE states and the law states that the child must attend at least 67% of their instructional day in order to be counted present. So if they miss 3 or more classes, then that child is considered absent for that day. Even if they attended 4 and they missed 3, they're going to be counted absent for that day. 5 accumulated unexcused absences warrant the student and parent/guardian being reported to the truancy officer. We have to turn that in. We have to turn that in. 5 unexcused absences, we have to turn it in to the truancy officer. And at that point, the truancy officer is just going to notify you by letter that your child has 5 unexcused absences. But what I want to share before I get to the next one is we have parent liaisons, teachers, secretaries. Every time your child is absent, we're calling you. I know principals are calling. I'm speaking now for Drew Hunter. I know Mr. Young is calling when children are not present. So we're calling, but that goes back to what I said. You got to answer the call to hear what we're talking about. And I'm going to leave that right there. So 12 accumulated unexcused absences warrant the student and the parent being reported to the justice court, the judicial system. So once they get 12 unexcused absences, parents, you're going to have to go to court and explain it to the judge. And we have to turn that in. We have to turn that in, or the district will not be in compliance, and our accreditation status can be placed on probation. Students, and this is very important, parents, students who complete assignments but do not log into class are still considered absent. Why? Because they have to log into class in order to be counted present. Students who have not picked up technological devices and are not logging in are considered absent. The excuse that I don't have technology does not fly. Why? Because the district purchased devices for every single student at every single school. So the technology is there. Well, I don't have the $25. You can still get the device. You just have to sign a waiver with the understanding that if your child breaks the device, that you're going to be responsible for. But not having technology is not an excuse for children being absent. Registered students who have not logged in since the beginning of school will be dropped from our rosters Friday, December 4th, 2020. That's tomorrow. If children have not logged in since we started school, which was September the 8th, we're going to have to drop you on tomorrow. So if you're on this call and you know your child has not logged in, please contact the school tomorrow. Please, because we're going to have to drop them because it's affecting our attendance. Technology, and I spoke on this a little bit, but I'll go ahead and reiterate. Technology is available for all students, capital A, capital L, capital L, for every single student, regardless of whether or not insurance is purchased. So if you have 3 children and you just don't have it, and you know, some people don't. If you don't have it, you still have to go and get the technology, and we will give it to you. We will not turn a single child away from getting technology. We will not turn a single child away from getting technology. Hotspots are available for every student who does not have internet access, regardless of whether you can purchase the insurance. If you have 3 children and you don't have any hotspots, go to the school and you will get them. Now, each hotspot can serve 2 children. So if you have 2 children, you only need to get 1 hotspot. If you have 3 children, you need to get 2 hotspots. But a hotspot can serve 2 children. But please go and pick up the hotspots and the technology. It's there. It's waiting on you. It has your child's name on it, literally. You just have to go and get it. Like I said, a waiver must be signed if insurance is not purchased, but students can still get the devices. Lack of technology or lack of internet is not, will not be, cannot be an acceptable excuse for students not logging on, because every student has access to technology. It's right there at the school if you haven't picked it up. Now, some parents say, well, we have our own technology. That's perfectly fine if your child is logging on. But every child has a device waiting for them if they choose to get it. If you still have not picked up your device for your child and you do not have technology access, please go to your child's school and pick up his or her technology, because guess what? Your child is being counted absent. If you have not picked up the technology for your child and they're not logging on, your child is being counted absent. If you do not have internet access, please go to the school and pick up a hotspot, because as of right now, your child is being counted absent. They have to log on to be counted present. The Sunflower County Consolidated School District is 100% virtual, and students cannot successfully complete their current grade without technology access. They just can't, because learning packets are no longer an option. We do not issue learning packets anymore. Why? Because we have technology. Learning packets was just a filler until we got technology for every student. So every student has access to technology, so we no longer have learning packs. So if your child is not logging on, they are being counted absent. And I just want to share, parents, and we've heard this a lot, and I don't want to call it an excuse because I really believe it's a reality. Parents are leaving for work and they're thinking their children are getting online, and I promise you, some of them are not, and they are being counted absent. They are being counted absent. And after 5, remember, you're going to get a letter. And then after 12, you're going to have to go to the youth court. So as I wrap up, these are the questions that I received. I answered a couple of them, but I'll go back through just to let you know that we do read questions. Mr. Murphy does give me a list of the questions. Ms. Townsend sent in some questions, so I want to make sure that I address everyone that was sent in. I only received 7. What leniency is given to students who, A, cannot log in? If a child cannot log in, please call your child's school. Every school has a representative there to help children log in. We also have technology technicians across the district who are assigned to different schools. So if you're having an issue logging in, please call the school. And we're so thankful. Most of our secretaries, they can just walk you through how to log in. I know at East Sunflower, Ms. Mays, I mean, she can tell you backwards and forwards how to do it at Locker. So just call the school and somebody can get you logged in. What leniency is given to students who have technical issues? Again, call the school. If you're having technological issues, call the school and let them know, and then we'll make the necessary arrangements. Your children won't be penalized. What leniency is given to students whose teachers have not opened the class? I know I sound like a broken record. Let's say it all together. Call the school and the principal will take care of that. And I sent out an email today to principals actually to make sure that our teachers are opening their classes on time, because 1 or 2 minutes may not seem like a lot to us, but it could be a lot to a child. So we're just going to do a better job about that. You know, teachers, we get tired of maybe on a call with a parent or anything, but we're going to just make sure that we're opening the classes online, even if we have to step away for a second. How do I get additional help if my child needs extra help? Contact that teacher directly. You can contact that teacher via email, via school status, and if all else fails, say it with me, call the school. Call the school. Are parents notified if students are misbehaving virtually? Yes, parents are notified if children are misbehaving virtually via school status. However, if you have blocked school status, then we don't have any way to notify you. So please, if you think you've blocked us from calling you, call the school and we can get you back in. What are the consequences for students misbehaving? There are consequences. We have let children sit out for a few minutes. We'll put them back in the waiting room. We'll disallow them from attending a class for a day or two. So there are consequences for children who are disrupting the virtual learning environment for everyone else. So there definitely are consequences. This was a really good question. How can distractions be minimized in virtual learning? So there are several ways. One, the recommendation that we give most is to purchase headphones for your children so that they don't hear what's happening in the background in your home. Now, one of the things that teachers do, and this is pretty much the same thing that we've done, when children log on, they're all on mute. And so then the teacher has to allow the child to speak. That way, everybody's not talking at the same time. And then also, children can create their own background, so you won't even see what's happening behind the children. You'll just see that background that the child has made, and teachers can show students how to create their own background. If you don't want to see people walking back and forth or people talking, you can create a background. So that's how we minimize our distractions in virtual learning. How do you report broken technology? Say it with me, call the school. You call the school, I promise you, and this is, I've spoken with Mr. Washington, the principals. If you have a broken device, someone has stolen your device, if you have purchased the insurance, within 48 hours, you will have a working device. So please, if you have an issue with your iPad, your computer, your hotspot, call the school and they'll take care of it. They have extras on hand to take care of those situations. What should we do if assignments are not posted? Ms. Townsend, I'm asking you to unmute so you can answer this question. And I said it 100 times. What do you need to do if assignments not posted? Say it loud for everybody to hear, Ms. Townsend.
Call the school.
You got it. You got it. That's exactly right. Call the school. Call the school. The principals will take care of that if you can't see assignments. How can we see grades before the end of the 9 weeks? Now, of course, we can send out progress reports. And then we also have active parents. But if you still are not able to see your child's grades, Ms. Golden, if you'll unmute your phone and say it loud for everyone to hear. If you can't do it, what do they need to do, Ms. Golden?
Call the school.
Call the school. Call the school. I promise you, secretaries have been trained. principals, everybody is just let us know, because we know this is new for parents. We know this is new for students. It's new for us. So just give us some grace and patience. But if you don't let us know that there is a problem, we can't solve a problem. So that is all that I have for you all tonight. If nothing else, I hope that if you have any problems, there are 3 words that I hope I left you with. Call the school. Call the school. Thank you for your attentiveness. Thank you for sending in questions. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Y'all, please be safe. Please be safe. We need you all. Our children need you. Please be safe, and thank you. God bless.